You're all ready for tonight. Tonight's a bit of a longer one, so hopefully you've got a pen and paper ready, or a coffee or a cup of tea to keep you going, some nibbles. Okay, right, let's get started. First of all, we will just do an acknowledgement of country. 30 Foot Drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to them, to the Indigenous people, their cultures, beliefs, but to both elders past and present. Total respect. Okay, funding. 30 Foot Drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys would never see the light of day, and we would be much more poorer for it as a community. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30 Foot Drop for information, linkages and capacity building grants 2018 and 2019. Okay, we'll just go over some housekeeping. Unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to monitor all of our live stream webinars. So if you did want to ask any questions, head over to the website link, which is just below this video, which is www.30footdrop.com.au/live. You can ask me any questions along the way. And we'll also do an open chat session at the end. So feel free to jump on there and hit the live button and chat away. Okay, we'll be covering a lot of information tonight, so we recommend, if you can, to minimise any distractions that you may have around you, just because there's lots of information to take on board, and yeah, we want you to be as focused as possible. Please make sure as well that if you talk about us on social media, through Facebook or any other platform, could you tag us in all your posts? We feel like the more feedback that is put out there, the better. And if you know anyone that might benefit from these webinars, please invite them to one of these webinars. Show them our website. There's lots of different webinars they can tune into. This is only one of 6, so there's lots of different ones they can tune into to help with employment, how your businesses can tap into the market share of these people that want to spend their money with your businesses. We just feel that this message is so important for the community, and we'd appreciate it if you can share it around with everyone. We'll be recording this session tonight, so if you miss some of it or you want to re-watch it later, you can, once it's finished, you can replay it and go over things again if you wanted to. We'll be referencing a lot of research tonight, so you can head over to our website and all the resources are in there, but just in more detailed information. So if you wanted to look further into anything, you can head over to our website. And like I said before, at the end of the webinar, we will be doing a little chat session. So if you have any questions, head over to that and ask away. Okay, let's go to the introductions. I am Lisa, like I said before, and I am one of your wise monkeys. I am Hear No Evil. So just by looking at me, you probably can't tell what I may suffer from. Through me, you'll realise that you will hear no evil about impairment. And my story is more of a hidden one. At the age of 8, I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. Teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks in front of my classmates, yell at me, "Why are you so dumb? Why don't you understand? What's wrong with you?" making me feel completely dumb and unworthy. But despite these challenges growing up, I needed to prove these teachers wrong. I was stubborn, and I think I did. And it just, having dyslexia makes you more determined to succeed, because you're already struggling and you just really want to do well, and you end up finding a passion that you love. And my passion was art and photography, so I followed that dream, and I realized that I was okay at it. And so all these teachers putting you down, it just made me feel better knowing that I did have something. And if you know anyone that has dyslexia or they struggle, then help them to find their passion, because you will be good at something. Everyone is good at something and no one is perfect. I have multiple diplomas in the arts field. I've worked all around the world organising exhibitions, having exhibitions on my own, doing picture framing, marketing, all sorts of things. I also have a diploma in counselling, and I also have my own photography business, Lisa Hall Creative. So if you want to go check it out, head over there. The other presenter is Ben, and he is See No Evil. He's not presenting tonight, but he will be presenting tomorrow morning. So if you want to watch him and come and check out his story, head over tomorrow and you can see what he's all about. Now, isn't there supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? Where is Speak No Evil? Who do you think Speak No Evil is? You guessed it, it's you. So tonight we want to turn you into that wise monkey, and so that you walk away from this webinar speaking no evil about impairment or disability. There's a lot to learn, and we'll begin on a journey of realizing this, that impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be acknowledged and treated in the same way as anyone else. Important message there. Outline and method. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and how we can increase your business by attracting them to your business and company. We'll be looking at 3 areas of need that most businesses can improve and use to tap into this market. These are accessibility, universal design, and diverse marketing. After covering all of this good stuff, we'll finish off with an open forum before wrapping up. So how are we going to cover this? What will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, open, honest discussion. And like I said before, feel free to ask any questions along the way, because the more open we can be about this topic, the better, and the more we're getting heard pretty much. You'll notice that there's very little written content on the slides. That's because we're all here to interact with each other, and it makes it easier for people with disability impairment to interact with the slides, because there's not too much information where they're getting confused and not being able to keep up. So hopefully it's nice and easy for everyone to understand. So, terminology and review. We just want to go over some things with you guys about words and terminologies that we use throughout 30-foot drop and 2 wise monkeys. Lots of people get these terminologies mixed up and think it's the same thing, whereas it's not. So, to reduce confusion and ensure understanding, I want to review some of the terminologies that I'll be using throughout the session. First up is the difference between disability and impairment. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause loss or difference of physiological and psychological function. In short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my medical diagnosis is that I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is a loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access or participate in something. So someone with a limited movement impairment, obviously they can't climb stairs, so to get into that business they are unable to get to that business, disabled, unable. So my example with mild dyslexia for that would be too much wording, complex information, sometimes stylized script for people can make it hard for dyslexia to understand, which makes it hard for us to get the right information that we need to use your service or business. This is especially important information to remember because some impairments like mine are hidden, so potentially you may have lost business already because you didn't realise about the hidden disabilities or impairments that people may have. If your business is clear and easy to understand, then you're pretty much going to be targeting everyone. So hopefully that all makes sense to everyone. The next terminology we'll be reviewing is access and inclusion. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and attitudinal, to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and is easily assessed with a checklist. Inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is the process whereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality, who wishes to can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as everyone else in the community. So you're making people with impairment and disability feel included in your business. They're feeling that connection, that they are welcome there. Making everyone, no matter who they are, feel included and have that welcoming connection to come into your service or business. Okay. Any questions? Head over to the chat box. Let's get into it. How to tap into the market. Increase your accessibility. As mentioned in the overview, there are 3 strategies that businesses can use to tap into the market. These are accessibility, universal design, and marketing, and they can be used individually, but it's best to use them concurrently. Let's go over these. Okay, accessibility. Increasing your accessibility. What do you think of when someone talks about accessibility? So some of you may be thinking wheelchair ramps, at-quad bays, parking spots, and accessible toilets. These are all great examples, but these are all only physical. There are so many other ways businesses can be more accessible. Let's have a look at some other things you might want to look at for your business to make it more accessible for customers. Make your information accessible. It's important not to make assumptions about how people can receive and communicate information. The best approach is to make important information available to consumers in a variety of formats. These could include speaking directly to the people on the phone, person to person, and in the case of someone who is deaf or with a hearing impairment, use the telephone typewriter TTY National Relay Service. This is when a person types a message to an operator at the TTY service, and that message is then conveyed to the person that the message is for, and then vice versa sent back in reply. So the TTY person will then type a reply to the person that's deaf or has a hearing impairment. Great system. Okay, so hard written content materials. Try and use large fonts as well, such as size 18 for people with vision impairments. Electronic formats, including email, websites, and chat services. You could have your information accessible on a USB or computer disc, and making an audio recording so that people can view it. Businesses could also consider installing an audio loop in their public shop fronts and offices to assist people with hearing aids, and providing an Auslan interpreter or Braille as an option on request. So many other options that you can use to communicate with people with impairment and disability. Okay, next we'll go over a few tips to maintain an accessible premises. An accessible designed premises is great, but if it's not maintained, it can be disastrous and in some cases dangerous. Here are some issues to be aware of. Do not lock accessible bathrooms, lifts while the premises are in use to the public. Ensure accessible bathrooms can be reached via a continual accessible path of travel. There's nothing worse for people in a wheelchair that say they need to use the bathroom. They've got to go to the bathroom straight away and there's something in the way. There's no one around to move that stuff. You need to make sure that those hurdles aren't in the way for them. It's hard enough for them as it is. So yeah, this is not an inclusive practice, and people with a disability or impairment will feel unwanted and not included in your business if your toilets are locked. Do not use accessible bathrooms and toilets as a change room or storage area. There's been a few places that we've seen over the past where accessible bathrooms have been used as a storage area. So people with wheelchairs can't even use them. Bit of a waste. So avoid constructing temporary displays or stacking goods in a manner that obstruct aisles in shops. Make sure there's a continual accessible path of travel around and within your shop and premises. Make sure that counter heights, lift buttons, EFTPOS facilities, door handles for example, are within reach for people using a wheelchair or someone with a short stature or impairment or disability. Ensure that lift buttons have raised tactile and braille information next to them so that the lifts can also provide audible information telling the passengers when the lift has arrived at the floor or up or down. Maintain adequate lighting levels throughout your premises. Provide clear and easy to read signage for people with an impairment accessing and using your premises. Do not allow surfaces to become dangerously worn or slippery. Provide designated parking spaces for people with disabilities and once again maintain that accessible path of travel from the parking space to the premises. Transport. If your business provides transport options, then please be aware of the following. Ensure information relevant to passengers with an impairment is provided on your transport services website. Such information may include specific booking process requirements for passengers with an impairment, locations of accessible bus and train stops, timing of accessible services and access features. Make sure booking forms and mobile apps are accessible to people with an impairment. Provide training to frontline staff of the delivery of accessible transport to passengers with an impairment. Take steps to inform booking agents, travel agents, or tour guides of relevant considerations for people with an impairment. For an example, the Fitness to Travel people with impairment have lots of equipment, so maybe your staff need training on how to put that equipment up and down, where to put it, how to bolt it down, all the access features and restrictions. Okay, mobility devices. Under the Disability Discrimination Act, it may be against the law for an owner or manager of a shop, restaurant, club or other venue to refuse entry to someone who uses a scooter or a wheelchair, which is being used for an impairment aid. It is also against the law to restrict access to the person who can own. It may also be against the law to restrict the access of that person only to certain parts of the premises. So saying to someone in a restaurant, oh sorry, you just have to sit down over in that corner because you're in a wheelchair. That needs to stop, and it is against the law. Maybe against the law in certain circumstances. An example of this is small shops who restrict mobility due to large amount of stock, which is illegal. Businesses should consider the needs of consumers who have scooters and wheelchairs as a mobility aid when shops have too much stock on the floors. General tips for maintaining accessible premises mentioned earlier in the section of this resource also apply to people who use mobility devices, and if customers can't get in the door, are they likely to spend money? No. Okay, assistance animals. This is a big one. Be aware that a guard dog is only one form of an assistance animal. There are other assistance animals out there, such as those that assist people with hearing disabilities or medical conditions or even anxiety. There's all sorts of different assistance animals. There can be cats, there can be birds. It just depends on what the person wants, what's available, and what they're comfortable with. If you're unsure if an animal is an assistance animal, the law says it's okay to ask the person with the impairment to provide some evidence that this animal is an assistance animal and that it's been trained to meet the hygiene and behaviour appropriate for the premises and for it to be okay to be in public. If you're unsure whether an animal is an assistance animal, ask the person before asking them to leave the premises or leave the animal outside, because that could be very difficult for them if you've made them do that and it is an assistant animal. Provide frontline staff with the information and training about assistance animals. There's probably a lot of you out there that may have staff that have no idea that there's other animals other than dogs that are assistance animals. So that's something to think about for your staff. Okay. Increasing accessibility of online content. The internet is by far the most favoured way for consumers to get information about goods and services. This research is often done prior to the consumer physically visiting your storefront. So by making your information accessible, you will encourage more customers to engage. The following are guidelines to keep in mind when designing your online content. Material that is presented in only image-based formats such as GIF or TIFF will not be accessible to some people with an impairment because screen readers can't interpret them. Use plain fonts that are easy to read. Avoid fonts that are too decorative or stylized. Make sure that there's enough contrast between foreground text and background text colours so it's easy to read. Do not provide content in only PDF format, as screen readers generally cannot read these. If you do include PDFs, provide the same information in Word or HTML format. Make sure you include text description for non-text content, including images and graphs, for example, using the ALT function, text function. Avoid scanned pictures of a menu or text boxes, as once again screen readers can't read these. Provide captions or transcripts for multimedia, audio and video content. Do not set an audio or video content to play automatically because this will interfere once again with the screen readers. If you use CAPTCHA, which is the wavy letters you have to type out, make sure that there are other alternatives available for people because not everyone's going to be able to do CAPTCHA. Even I find it hard sometimes. What is that word? What is that letter? Make sure that all content on your website can be navigated by keys and not just with a mouse because some people find it difficult using a mouse. Make technical support available for consumers that need assistance using your website via online chat sessions, phone calls and emails. Test the accessibility of your website and where necessary speak to an accessibility professional. All this helps to meet the needs of more customers, which will be more customers brought into your business. Okay, planning events. We'll be covering accessible tourism and events, looking at the opportunities at greater detail in the webinar part 5 and 6. These tips are looking specifically at the physical event. When planning events, including meetings, festivals, conferences, lectures, and fundraisers, you need to take all reasonable steps to ensure that the event is accessible so that people with impairment can attend and participate. Considerations should be given to the issues raised in each of the earlier sections of this workshop, in addition to the following. Explain the accessibility of the venue on an invitation or registration form and request attendees inform you of any accessibility requirements that they may have. An example of these are access process or maps for people with impairment. So give out some maps, have maps available online, on paper, so that people with a disability or impairment can see straight away where are the accessible toilets, where are the accessible car parks. Make sure that there's handout materials and also make sure it's available in electronic format. Additionally, the following considerations should also be considered when using a venue. Make sure there is a sufficient, clear, simple and visible signage directing people where to go. Ensure the venue is large enough and set out in such a way that people with impairment, including people with a mobility device, such as wheelchairs or scooters, can move freely around the event. There'd be nothing worse than being stuck in your wheelchair and not being able to move around the event. These people, we all want to socialise together. We don't want to be stuck in one spot. When setting up and arranging allocations, allow people with impairment and disability the first choice of seating, including options with a clear view of the stage or speakers. This is particularly important for people who are deaf or have a hearing impairment. Ensure that any speakers are aware if there is anyone with a hearing impairment so that they can use PowerPoint slides or videos in their presentations. They'll need to provide the same information in a format which is accessible to people that have vision or hearing impairments. For example, speakers could provide an oral description of PowerPoint slides, provide a hard copy, electronic or audio copies of material ahead of the event, use captioning or Auslan interpreters during a presentation, which is becoming a lot more known and popular nowadays. There's so many Auslan videos going around. I think Bron put one on our page the other day. It was awesome. There's all these different guys at different concerts doing Auslan. It's pretty funny what they come up with. Brief venue and registration staff about the responsibility to avoid discriminating against people with impairment, about any access issues such as allowing people to use assistance animals in the venue. Brief staff of allocations of accessible toilets, accessible features and handouts in accessible formats. This information could be provided to staff before the event in writing or in a briefing session or meeting. The staff member could also be responsible for addressing any accessibility issues that may arise on the day of the event, and make sure that staff working at the event know who that accessibility person is, so that you're not trying to find answers while you have someone there waiting to get into the event. Straight away, yep, you can go this way, this is the best place for you to go so you can see. Just make sure that all your staff know where that spot is so that there's no confusion. Okay, next we have universal design. What is it? So all of the tips to increase accessibility are great, but what is even better than a solution? If the problem didn't exist at all. Universal design is a great way to make your organisation amazingly accessible, and is cheaper, faster and visually more appealing than fixing it afterwards. So what is universal design? Universal design is the composition of an environment, universal design and composition of an environment so that it can be accessed, understood and used to the greatest extent possible by people regardless of their age, size, ability or impairment. In short, it is when society designs with everyone in mind. It's inclusive, it's for everyone. Staff at all levels can contribute to universal design, from small changes to a single product or service change to designing a holistic experience for all customers. When done right, universal design business case for universal design. When done right, universal design is more than just catering for customers with impairment. It can have the following business benefits: increased market reach. A universally designed product will be usable, accessible and appealing to a wider customer base. Enhance customer satisfaction and retention. A satisfied customer will tell other people about your product and service or environment, increasing awareness and potentially creating new customers for your business. Market crossover success. Products that are aimed at specific target groups can sometimes generate interest and demand from unforeseen markets, which is what we're hoping to do for you today. The OXO Good Grips range, which are kitchen products. These products were especially designed for older people with arthritis or limited hand movements. This kind of out-of-the-box thinking can generate a widespread demand. I actually have one of these at home and I had no idea that it was for people with limited mobility. I bought it because it just looked like it was going to last. It was nice and easy to use. I've had it about 5 years. I think my kids could easily use it too. So it's great. Definitely go check the OXO brand out. Okay, so a positive public image. A business that's positively contributes to society by incorporating the universal design approach is likely to receive a reputation for having a high level of corporate social responsibility. Increased customer expectations. In recent decades, the voice of the general public has become more prominent and more influential. Excuse me. Universal design enables companies to design products, services, and environments that are more closely matched with consumer expectations and needs. Except at first use. A consumer forms as an there's something in my throat. A consumer forms an opinion about a product at first use, or even at first sight. A recent study suggested that the internet users take less than 50 milliseconds, that's 1/20th of a second, to judge the visual appearance of your website. If a first impression is negative, a consumer is likely to not purchase your product. If a product is simple, clear, and easy to access and easy to use, a consumer is more likely to proceed with the transaction at your business. Sorry. Achieving universal design. Okay, I might just have to go and have a drink of water if you just want to wait there for a second. I'm just going to hit the button for a second. Sorry about that. You know, when you have something in your throat and you can't, you know that you're going to continue coughing. I just had to go and get a drink of water. Right, so where are we up to? Achieving universal design. The most efficient way to achieve universal design is collaborating with employees that have an impairment. They can guide you in the process with their experience. There are also 7 principal topics to note when striving for universal design. Just lost my mouse. These are equitable use, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, and size and space for approach and use. Let's go over these 7 principles in a bit more depth. Equitable use. The design should be useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. Provide the same means for all users. So this is identical wherever possible and equivalent when not. For example, ramps instead of stairs is identical. Ramp and stairs is equivalent. Avoid segregating or stigmatizing any users, like having wheelchair accesses through the kitchen only, which is so degrading. Provisions for privacy, security, and safety should be equal to all users. Make sure the design is appealing to all users. Okay, next, flexibility in use. The design accommodates a wide range of individual preferences and abilities. Example, the use of flashing lights with sirens or beeping sounds give a warning in an emergency situation. This way people with reduced hearing or sight can know what to do in case of an emergency, which could save lives. So that's important for everyone, not only people that are able and can hear and see. It's important to have all these measures in place for people with a vision impairment, mobility impairment, because we all need to be safe so it can save lives. So the guidelines for these: provide choice in methods of use, accommodate right hand and left-handed access use, facilitate the user's accuracy and precision, provide adaptability to the user's pace. So if someone's not moving as fast, you need to adapt to that and have different things available for people that are a bit slower. Okay, number 3 is simple and intuitive use. The use of design is easy to understand regardless of the user's experience, knowledge, language skills, or current concentration level. So for example, the universal male and female symbols on bathroom doors are easy to understand than stylized script. Guidelines for these: eliminate unnecessary complexity. Be consistent with user expectations and intuition. Accommodate a wide range of literacy and language skills. Arrange information consistent with its importance. Provide effective prompting and feedback during and after task completion. Okay, number 4. The design communicates necessary information effective to the user, regardless of ambient conditions or the user's sensory abilities. So these are raised tactile indicators. Not only do they help people with vision impairments, but they also alert people with up-and-coming hazards. So how many of you actually thought that this was a decorative art thing on the street? It's actually for people that have vision and hearing impairments, so they can tell where the hazards are, what's coming up next. How amazing is that? And once you start noticing, you'll notice that they're everywhere. Okay, guidelines for these: use different modes, pictorial, verbal and tactile, for redundant presentation of information. Provide adequate contrast between essential information and its surroundings. Maximize essential information. Differentiate elements in ways that can be described. Provide compatibility with a variety of techniques or devices used by people with sensory impairments. Number 5 is tolerance for error. The design minimises hazards and the adverse consequences of accidental or unintended actions. An example: guards and handrails on ramps provide a tolerance for error when using a ramp. Guidelines: arrange elements to minimise hazards and errors. Most elements and most accessible hazardous elements eliminated, isolated or shielded. Provide warnings of hazards and errors. Provide fail-safe features. Discourage unconscious actions and tasks that require vigilance. Low physical effort. The design can be used efficiently and comfortably and with a minimum of fatigue. So instead of having a round door handle, think about having a lever door handle, because this is a lot easier for people with limited mobility in their hands to open the door. You can use your elbow. It's just easy for everyone to use it. Guidelines: allow the user to maintain a neutral body position. Sorry, struggling tonight. Allow the person to use a neutral body position. Use reasonable operating forces. Minimize repetitive actions. Minimize sustained physical effort. Okay. Size and space for approach and use. Appropriate size and space is provided for approach, reach, manipulation, and regardless of the user's body size, posture, and mobility. Example, here's a picture of accessible parking spaces which are designed with a shared area in the middle and placed closer to building entrances to allow people with mobility issues and devices. So just having all that space around it allows these people to access the premises a lot more easily. So guidelines for these: provide a clear line of sight to important elements for seated or standing users. Make reach to all components comfortable for any seated or standing user. Accommodate variations in hand and grip size. Provide adequate space for the use of assistive devices or personal assistants. Okay. So, diverse marketing. First up, let me explain what diverse marketing is. 50 years ago, a company could be useful in the marketing, could be successful in marketing when using the WASPs, White Anglo-Saxon Saxon Protestants, since they represented most of the consumer market. Eventually, some companies realised that businesses' potential of marketing worked with populations as well, and several efforts at multicultural marketings were attempted, but a company could still experience success without it. Today, however, the market is decidedly different. The Australian population is growing, and it's growing increasingly diverse. And if trends continue, today's minority groups will make up a minority of the population sometime around 2040. This general market strategy may no longer be effective in some contexts, requiring organisations to diversify their marketing strategies. Customers in different cultures have different values, experiences, expectations, and ways of interacting. Even within a culture, such differences will be apparent between subgroups, not just ethically, but also age, gender, profession, religion, family size, physical environment, and more. Diverse marketing involves acknowledging that marketing and diverse advertising must also offer alternative ways of communication to diverse groups. With that knowledge, diverse marketers aim to develop a mix of different communication methods in order to reach people in all diverse groups present to the market. These diverse market groups are essential marketing, powerful, and connection. So, essential marketing is the process of how a business product or service promotes its key features and benefits to customers, which ultimately generates sales for business by satisfying its customers' needs. Powerful. On average, we're exposed to around 5,000 ads per day, ranging from TV and print all the way to branding and sponsorship. Advertising is everywhere and continues to be a powerful medium for persuasion and changing attitudes. Connection. By presenting people with an impairment in their advertising, companies connect more strongly with customers with impairment, as well as families and friends. It also demonstrates support for human diversity and in a broader sense. So, diverse marketing. There are three main ways to diversify your marketing, which are inclusive, thematic, and pride. Let's go over these. Okay. Let's start with inclusive. Inclusive marketing. This method does not emphasize disability. Rather, it neutralizes it by incorporating people with a disability in images or messages. These people are just any other customer enjoying your product which happens to have a disability. Now, we're just going to look at a little ad which is showing you an example of an inclusive marketing experience for all users. Okay, let's have a look.
So how was the big wedding?
Yeah. So it's at the end of the night, everyone's on the dance floor really getting into it, you know? And say, this is my left wheel, this is the bride's foot.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is just a prime example of an inclusive marketing. Just is brilliant. So this method presents little risk of criticism for disability opportunism, has a broader economic and social potential, and is more easily incorporated into sustained commitment marketing strategies, as often as an extension of existing diversity initiatives in marketing. Large businesses such as Kmart, Target, and Mars Chocolate have made use of this message with the results shown in the next session. Okay, thematic. Sorry, I got a bit ahead of myself there. Thematic marketing. In a nutshell, thematic marketing and advertising focuses on disability itself, usually conveying an explicit message or comment about a disability. Thematic advertising can be done well and may be helpful in showcasing products or services especially specific to people with disability or impairment. So we'll just have a look at another video which shows an example of thematic marketing.
I can boost your profits.
I can deliver fantastic service.
I can maintain your garden.
I can maintain your fleet.
I can manage your finances.
I can be a loyal and productive employee.
But I can't put my abilities to work.
If I'm not given the opportunity.
If you don't recognise my abilities. If you don't have an open mind.
If you don't employ me.
So what can you do?
What can you do?
What can you do?
You can remember that.
Savvy employers.
No, it's what people can do that matters.
It's what people can do that grows Australian business.
The 4 million Australians with barriers and disabilities have many more amazing abilities.
That should be used.
Because it's good for business.
Because it's the right thing to do.
Because every Australian deserves a fair go.
Start right now.
Call Forest Post.
So another example of showcasing the thematic marketing that is out there, and people, many companies are reluctant to consider this thematic advertising about disability, fearing that they will get it wrong and say the wrong thing, and will cause offence. But you just have to get it right, and getting it right is what the next one is about: pride marketing. Most businesses have various disabilities related policies and procedures in place. Things like accepting a companion card or offering additional help for people who cannot fill out forms, and much more. So having someone in your workplace that can help people with impairment or disability, so helping them fill out the forms, or accepting a companion card. So this could mean you're at the movies with a carer and say the care is free because they're a companion to the person with the disability. So these are amazing initiatives and would sway a potential customer with a disability to use your business. The problem is no one knows about it. By showing pride in your measures, celebrating any new changes, acknowledging shortcomings, you are demonstrating awareness of the issues. This newspaper clipping shows that they have now got access to use the beach. So it's been put out there, it's been shown that now the beach is accessible to everyone. So you just got to get it out there on your social media platforms, advertise it in the newspaper, on the radio, just so that people know. Now our business is inclusive. Now we have a ramp, we don't have stairs, for example. Okay, diverse marketing pitfalls. Diverse marketing pitfalls. Ads involving people with impairment should always be created in consultation with people with an impairment. This will ensure that the messages will be consistent with the right intent. Using people with an actual impairment and not actors pretending to have them. You may not be able to notice, but they definitely can. And this will do more harm than good. Don't use them in an inspiring contents. We are just normal people using your business. So if you're worried about doing a marketing strategy using the thematic marketing, like the forest video, you won't fail if you're going to use someone with an actual impairment or disability. How can you fail? So using someone that's an actor, you probably will fail because people can tell, and what's that saying about your business? So lots of information there tonight, and sorry I had to stop for 5 minutes. I have done a lot of talking over the last few days and I think I'm losing my voice. So thank you for joining me and hopefully understanding everything that I went over tonight. That's a wrap for now. If you have any questions, I'm going to head off for 5 minutes, and I'd like you to jump into the chat box if you have a question and ask away. If there's anything else that you didn't understand or you want to go back over, you can head over to our website www.30footdrop.com.au/live, and you can ask any questions, or you can go over any resources or go over this video again, or even look at Ben's video from this morning, because there won't be a coughing episode in the middle of it. Anyway, I'm going to stop for 5 minutes and let you ask any questions that you might have. If you have to go, there is a survey at the bottom on our website, so please go and fill out that survey because we need feedback, and the more people that do it, the better. So click on that link which goes to our website, hit survey part 4. There's only about 5 questions. Do that and then I'll let you go. Anyway, if those that don't have to go and have any questions, please jump into the chat box, and I'll see you in 5 minutes. Cheers, guys. Okay, welcome back, guys. There are no questions tonight, which is completely fine. I will let you guys go and take all that in. Go and put your children to bed, do whatever else you're doing tonight. I hope you all enjoyed tonight, and sorry about the little coughing episode. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night for Tapping In Part 5. Yep, have a good night, and thanks for joining me tonight. See you later.